So before any further ado, let me hand over to Mr. Omar Mustafa Ansari for his keynote address.
Thank you, brother Dr. Rizwan. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's indeed a pleasure for me to be here at this event after a long gap, as Sister Iram has mentioned, which is one of the most prestigious events in Pakistan on this topic, which is done by actually one of the most prestigious, or rather I would say the most prestigious business schools, having a very good center for its excellence in Islamic finance. Alhamdulillah, what we can see in Pakistan at all fronts, most of the things in Islamic finance, we can find those to be very much giving you an you can think with hope. You feel a light that a lot of things are going in the right direction, and you hope and you pray that this goes on in the same direction and you can have it better. And it is happening, this event is particularly happening at the time when just a few weeks back, the Federal Shariat Court has passed that very important judgment for abolishment of riba from the whole of the country's economic system. So I believe that this is the right time for discussing a few aspects, realigning the strategies, developing the national level strategy. So a lot of things need to be done, and I believe that there have been very good discussions yesterday, and we'll be continue having a lot of good discussions today. Now, coming to the conference theme, what actually I would like to say about that. Sister Iram, mashallah, you actually were able to bring 72 speakers, but it means that you have assigned very less time for the speakers to say what they want to say. So it becomes a bit more difficult to align your thoughts and to say whatever you want to say within a limited time. So from that perspective, I believe that I need to be very focused on a few things. So the topic of the conference, I just want to touch upon that. That is the theme of the conference, the development of Islamic finance ecosystem for global prosperity. So the first thing that I would like to mention is that Islamic finance is maybe a means, not the objective. When you want to talk about the ecosystem, you cannot achieve an ecosystem for the intended purposes only by means of Islamic finance. It is just one of the tools. And as a tool, it may not even be, be positioned to actually work in the manner it needs to work. So for example, I'm just putting an example that till the time you work within the conventional banking regulations, till the time you work within a conventional central banking system, till the time you work with a benchmark system which is based on money supply rather than the economic resources availability, demand and supply, till those times, just thinking of the global prosperity through Islamic finance and creating a complete ecosystem may be just a dream. But alhamdulillah, this means this is one of the most challenging tasks for that. I can tell you, developing an Islamic financial system itself, the relevant Islamic financial institutions, the products, the structures, and whatever has been done on the part of the regulations, etc., that could not have been achieved without due hard work, due effort, due I would say, commitment. In Urdu, what we say, pitta mari ka kaam hai. Without that, you could not have actually reached to that level. But again, this is just a means, not the objective in itself. You can have maybe 80% of banking through Islamic banking and nothing will change. It will make people more more confused about Islamic finance, because at times we start of thinking Islamic finance alone. So the point is that it is not something that can achieve the objectives alone. So this is my first point that I would like to mention. Now, the second point is that, okay, we cannot change the system. We don't have the government in our hand. We don't have the necessary political will. But what is still the Islamic finance sector can do to achieve this objective of creating, as far as possible, an ecosystem and creating a, you know, a ground at least for the right work that needs to be done for the global prosperity. From that perspective, I believe that the first point and the first and foremost on which we every time emphasize is adherence to maqasid al-Sharia. Islamic finance has a form and has a soul. The form is the documentation, it's the Sharia compliance. But the essence is implementation of that form into the real life transactions. The soul is having the right mindset. The soul is having the right ethical values. And the soul is adherence to the maqasid al-Sharia. Iqbal said, मांगते फिरते हैं अगयार से मिट्टी के चराग, अपने खुर्शीद पे फैला दिए साए हमने. We need to understand that if SDGs are coming from the West, we accept them with a whole heart. Wow, something great is coming. But something much greater was in our hands already in form of maqasid al-Sharia, which we forgot. Even as Islamic finance industry, we forgot that. And this is something on which we need to work at all levels, at the academic level, at the standard setting level, but more importantly, at the level of those who actually do the transactions, actually who implement the transactions. Support for economic development. Again, whenever we do Islamic finance, I have a personal belief that some economic activity is supported. And to be honest, I may be very blunt in that, but if a genuine economic activity is not there in a transaction, even if in its form it may be considered Sharia compliant, it's not compliant. I believe so. I may be wrong. I may be blunt on that. But I believe that a real economic activity is there in every Islamic finance transaction, in every genuine Islamic finance transaction. So it means that we are at least playing our role a little bit in the economic development, at least. But is it enough? Is it what was intended to be the purpose of Islamic finance? Is it what the objective of Sharia is on a broader scale from an Islamic economic system? Do we consider additional aspects from that perspective, that what is needed for the economic development side? I will not be touching upon too many aspects of that, but one aspect I believe is the social finance aspect, which includes different sort of avenues, from microfinance till charity and all those things. Yes, I know some of the Islamic financial institutions are trying to play their role, but this is something that needs to be done at a broader level. What AAOIFI is trying to do in this regard, we are working on maqasid. We have developed recently a standard for which exposure draft will be issued shortly, which will be on Sharia decision making. And from the perspective of Sharia decision making, we believe that maqasid needs to be integrated. So there is it's not going to be a separate standard, it's going to be appendix to a standard right now, but we believe this is something that needs to be adhered to by the industry in all the decisions related to Sharia. And again, Sharia related decisions are not only fatwa of the Sharia board, it's also about how the management and those who are actually doing the transactions implement those decisions. Every time you will have two things in your mind whenever you are trying to do something. You can do it the right way or the wrong way. Even the wrong way, you may say that, okay, I'm still compliant because I'm complying with the form of the transaction, but in your heart you know you are doing the wrong thing. This is where each one of us has to play our role. From AAOIFI's perspective, we are also working on some of the social finance related areas. We are working on zakah, we are working on WIFF. Some of the standards are finalized. Some standards we are working on. We believe that there are more work that needs to be done by AAOIFI and other standard setting bodies and regulators on the social finance aspects. And from that perspective, we believe there is a long way to go. We all need to have collaboration amongst each other, among regulators, the industry, and the standard setting bodies. With that, I would like to thank you all again. It is a great pleasure being here today. Inshallah, we'll be having some great discussions, and I hope that it will be a great learning experience for all of us. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.